Hi, everybody. Welcome to Resolve to Live Forward. That's right, Resolve to Live Forward. Got a question for you. Now, of course, it's predicated on the particular time of life that you're in. In my coaching work, I deal with people who are stuck. What I mean by that is they have reached a point in their life where they're not finished, but they don't really have a clear idea of where they want to go next. They're trying to determine what is there left for me to do that I can do that will be meaningful, fulfilling, and will be beneficial not just to me, myself, to you, but also to others, those that we have the opportunity to engage, as well as those that are a part of our community, our sphere of influence, and our loved ones, of course. Now, that question that I want to offer to all of you who are joining with me today on this podcast is there a specific thing in your life right now that you would say you need to work on more than anything else? And what I'm about to share with you is not for everybody, because there are people out there that ace this. I'm just amazed at how well they do it, but it has been, for me personally, the bane of my existence. I want to once again bring you back to my book, Resolve, Your Intentional Blueprint, or Your Blueprint for Intentional Success, Your Blueprint for Intentional Success. And as you probably have learned from the previous episodes so far, having identified the definition of resolve is having a definite, firm plan of action, and then taking each of the 7 letters, RESOLVE, and assigning to it a specific behavioral best practice that we can put to work in life every day. These are the steps that I have found that have been remarkably transformative in my life and have helped me immensely, particularly at this much later stage of my life, where I'm now in my 70s. I am a widowed individual, but I am still productive. And I enjoy being productive, but I want to be productive so that it's effective, not just for success personally, but most importantly of all, for your success, which is why I wrote the book, because I believe that all of us can be a better version of ourselves, or we can take what already is good about us and we can expand it, we can enhance it, we can amplify it. But getting back to the principal question, for me, and this may be for you, so today's podcast is about the letter O, right there. Letter O. For those of you that have read the book, which is available on Amazon and paperback for $14.99, the letter O you're familiar with. Some of you may not know what the letter O is for, and you have ideas in your mind whirling around. But I will tell you that people who have a definite, firm plan of action, who are already practicing R for resilience, E for engagement or engaging life and opportunity, and of course, S for having a service-minded or a selfless service mindset and lifestyle. The middle letter, the anchor letter, the one that sort of anchors both the first 3 and the last 3, is the letter O for organization. Organization. People who are organized, and there are other words that you can use, but people who are organized have a definite end in mind. They have a plan of action, a definite plan of action. It takes organization to make that plan of action work. Now, Dr. John Maxwell, in his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, mentions a word that I think has really resonated with me: process. Finding a process. Having a process actually is formulating a system. Systems for success. To do that, you have to have an organizational mindset. you also need to build around you a team of people with an organizational mindset as well. Then you have a collaborative organizational team. You find the people that help you accomplish the objectives that you want to achieve, because you cannot be skilled in all the things necessary to do the kind of work that you do, whether it's the work that you currently do or the work you feel life is calling you to do as you are moving from being stuck to unstuck. And part of the shifting out of the stuck process into unstuck and into vibrant and meaningful living is knowing, based upon best practices on a day-by-day basis, that you have put together some type of an organizational plan for success. I want to open up my book for just a moment, and I want to read something to you. It says here, organizational skills can be developed and improved, but only with practice. One way to develop organizational skills is to start by writing down the task as soon as they pop into your mind, and then order them by their importance, significance, and priority. When I joined Toastmasters the first time in 1985, I had just come out of the industry of broadcasting. I had been a disc jockey. Now, remember the time frame, 1985. Cassettes were around, but they were not yet really the common mechanism for people listening to music, and they definitely weren't available in cars, to the best of my knowledge. There had been 8-tracks. Boy, I'm glad those are not around anymore. CDs had not been yet, at least in terms of us having them as a device for putting into a CD player in our car or one at home. Those were not yet state of the art and a part of the listening. And of course, we're miles and miles and miles ahead of CDs in this day and age that we live. Everything is digital. But I came out of radio being a disc jockey. I worked in front of a control panel. There were knobs and switches, and you could turn things off and turn things on. You had your volume controls. You had the sound and the levels for a turntable. In most cases, 2 turntables, one on each side. And we had in the library of the music we were playing vinyl records, both 45 RPM and 33 1/3 long plays. And these would be queued up and then would be started by the push of a button. Sometimes we would slip start because the felt covering on the turntables made it possible to hold our finger while the table was spinning. The LP remained stationary, and as soon as you lifted your finger, immediately it started. And of course, queuing up that song was very, very important because you wanted to have clean, precise segues. So it was a process that involved a skill. And anyone who's been in radio, whether AM or FM or both, knows that one of 2 things happen. If you work at a station like I did, where the disc jockey did it all, then you were responsible for setting everything up and starting and following what was called a traffic log. The traffic log was simply the order in which we play music, when we break for commercials, when we break for weather and news, and for public service announcements and anything else. Other radio stations, much bigger, of course, would have engineers, and these engineers were like producers, and they would do all of the button pushing so that the personalities on radio could do their job, which was to be personalities. They had those voices, those sounds, those styles, and they did all of the fun things that made listening to radio so much fun when we were driving our cars or sitting at home. Now, as we are in this day and age, I will tell you that in 1985, when I left broadcasting, I chose to go into advertising sales. And in the advertising sales world, because I had developed a following in the community that I lived in and had done advertising and commercials on behalf of our sponsors in this line of work, I wanted to go out and I wanted to garner additional advertisers because this was a revenue source. Plus, I was paid commissions for bringing these advertisers in. I struggled. I thought to myself, I've been in broadcasting. I did it in college, and then I did it for 13 years, pretty much 13 years once I had left college. But in 1985, I left the broadcast DJ part of the business to go into the income earning part of the business that funds and operates the radio stations, and that is advertising revenue. But I failed. Rarely was I successful. I was good at retaining the customers that we had, but getting new customers to buy in was problematic. I joined organizations to help me get the opportunity to network. At that particular time, the most common one was the Chamber of Commerce. And the Chamber of Commerce hosted various types of events, from ribbon cuttings to after-hour get-togethers to member breakfasts that allowed you the opportunity to learn something and also to meet a new business or organization and get a chance to see who's coming in, who is a member of the chamber or affiliated with the chamber and will have an impact upon the community. I went to one of those chamber breakfasts and I was introduced to an organization, and this was in the city of Plant City, which was the chamber that I had joined. Plant City, for those of you that do not know the Florida map, as you know, I live in Lakeland. Lakeland is on the Interstate 4 corridor. Just 11 miles immediately to the west down Interstate 4 is Plant City. Plant City would be the first significant population center in extreme eastern Hillsborough County, but Hillsborough County is dominated by Tampa. And I-4 went past Plant City on the way to and through Brandon and into Tampa, and then across the bay into Pinellas County, where we have St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and all of the Gulf beaches. I was a member of the Plant City Chamber of Commerce, and I attended the chamber breakfast, and there was a Toastmasters club there that had just chartered in Plant City, and they did a micro or mini demonstration meeting to show us what happened. And I saw it and I was taken by it, and I thought, these people are in an organization which helps us to be better communicators, and I should be just fine because I can go in there and I can apply my speaking skills, because I had always been somewhat involved in speaking and communications through radio, as well as having grown up in church, singing on the platform, and having the opportunity periodically to either perform in performances such as church dramas, as well as church musicals and singing. When I started attending the Toastmasters Club in Plant City and I got involved in the Toastmasters educational program, I discovered that in the communications world, there's a very significant piece of information that you need to be good at in order to be able to effectively communicate your message. And it has nothing to do with just being a good speaker, because you don't have to be a great speaker to get the attention of people. You have to be true to yourself. But what you do have to have is you have to have preparation. And that's how I realized that having an organized plan for the presentation put into an outline and formatted so that it can be effective and communicating without rambling on and on and on and on is how you gain the attention of people and capture the opportunity to get that individual to sign on with your specific messaging, your specific product, your specific styles and tools and mechanisms for helping you have success, either as a business or as an individual. Organization is vital in any kind of a business, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are a customer service specialist, whether you are an employee working the floor or the counter, answering phones, doing service for folks who need help with resolving issues and problems, Having a definite, firm plan of action means you have a structure, an organizational plan for success. And in that organizational plan, there are also contingencies. And the contingencies give you the opportunity to know that if something is slightly different from the way it normally flows, you have a mechanism to be able to adjust, to pivot, to shift, if necessary, to put a pause, step back, reassess, and then once again initiate, engage the activity of productivity. Organization is important in all aspects of our life. Currently, I've been talking to you about it as a tool in business. But organization is important to you when it comes to your day-to-day life. I included organization for the letter O because I believe that O, since it's the center letter in resolve, is the anchor for the first three that I've already talked about and the subsequent three that will follow. 7 total letters, but the O is in the middle. O for organization. Now, what does that look like? And understand, I don't have the optimal method for organization. I only have what I have learned that I want to share with you. And you very well probably have mechanisms that have worked for you, or you are looking for ideas on how to make it work for you. These are just some of the tools that I've been fortunate to uncover and have begun to help me. Here's a very transparent moment. I said at the beginning of the podcast, basically, organization has been the bane of my existence throughout the course of my life and anything that I was able to be involved in to do. I have failed many, many times because I did not approach something from the right direction. Having a framework, an organizational framework, is the best way to get it done. Simon Sinek, of course, talks about the golden circle, where the why, which is the center of the circle, is where we should talk, or we should begin. We should find out our why and work our way out, because from why we go to how we do what we do. Why do we do it? How we do it? And what is it that we do? Inside out, rather than what we're doing, how we do it, and why we do it. Organization is the same way. If we know why we are doing what we're doing, organization will help us know how to do what we want to do. Organization is important from the very, very beginning of our day. Let's just use a typical situation. If you are a person that goes to bed at a regular time every night, then you're going to be sleeping. The day begins at midnight, but if you are like most people, you're working a job or activities or things or being productive during daylight hours. Nighttime is for your rest, relaxation, re-energizing, your meals, preparation, cleanup, housework, things of that sort, but especially important is the rest. But when the clock strikes and it's time to get up, do you know what your day is going to look like based upon a specific plan of action? That's important. For some people, getting up is simply the same old, as they say. I got to get up. I've got to get cleaned. I've got to eat. Got to get dressed. Got to grab whatever it is that I need to have, hop in my transportation, and go to my job, whatever that job is. For years, I checked into a job. It was on a time clock, and I worked that job. And there were specific expectations. And during that day, even if there were interruptions and opportunities for fun, but also challenges and upsets, it was still a schedule. I was there from a certain time, and I would work specific tasks that were assigned and expected as part of my job description. Then I would wrap up and drive home, unwind, decompress, vent, or have laughter or fun or look forward to doing something, have a bite to eat, depending upon the day of the week. There were things that we were hoping to do during that extracurricular period of our life or that non-working time. In life, having a plan that is a process that you follow requires an organizational mindset. When you are consistently set at things that are meaningful and you want to do them, then getting up every day is not something that is drudgery. It's something that the moment your eyes open, when that alarm clock goes off, you light up. You may not jump out of bed full of energy and vim and vigor, but you will be looking forward to the objectives that you have established, the expectations that you have set, and the opportunities that will occur through engaging your schedule that is organized and planned, but also has the capability of being adjustable and flexible depending upon any kind of a disruptive situation or possible surprising opportunity that inserts itself in there that can be delightful. Engaging life is not about knowing everything that you're going to do. Engaging life, though, is about having an end in mind. And when you have an end in mind, you're thinking in a proactive mindset. You know that you have your times allocated, your projects allocated, and you can do this not just with productivity as it relates to what you do to produce an income stream that helps you meet and provide for and even have beneficial additions in your life. But this can also be a very important tool in the avocations that you participate in. In organization, it's important for you not just to get what is done in terms of priorities, but it's also important to have organization in terms of special projects. In organization, for example, you might need to schedule house cleaning and all that is associated with that. And you may even need to organize a specific system of cleaning. In other words, where do we start first? And how significant and deep do we want this cleanup process to be? This could be organization in terms of scheduling activities on the exterior part of the house. All kinds of projects there. It's a blazing summertime right now here in Florida where I live. And one of the things about Florida with our afternoon thunderstorms, which are almost consistently a daily thing, and they're both a curse and a blessing. I don't particularly care for thunderstorms, but they're a part of it. But the rain is good because it cools things down. But the other side of it is that with the days being longer and the ground being moist and having plenty of water, the grass grows very fast. So cutting the grass has to be at least a weekly process if you do your own lawn mowing like I do. But the point is, exterior work requires organizational plans and scheduling, taking into account all the possible factors. And all of this is built into a life that has a specific organized plan of action with objective ends in mind. Now, does that mean that every day has to have an end in mind? I don't think so. Vacations, for example, are a great time to be extemporaneous, but they do require a degree of organization. There are some days when I like to crash, but for me, crashing is not necessarily getting sleep. It is simply me time. It can be you time. And you can do something for yourself or for you and your loved ones or for you and people that you have a special connection with, but you do it and it's meaningful to you and it is productive for adding quality to your life and giving you peace of mind and a sense of purpose. But organization is not something that has to be hard and fast and regimental. That's my personal feeling. There are some people that cannot and will not operate unless everything is timed out to the second. I'm not going to criticize that. On the other hand, I'm not necessarily going to say I praise it. We're all different, and how you're wired is important. But how you know and plan your day and have an organizational framework to achieve the best possible results in your life and the life of those that matter to you the most, how you do that is something that you want to work on. That having been said, because organization was the biggest single problem that I had, and I discovered through Toastmasters that the only way I could present an effective and, by the way, timed speech was to prepare and organize, either writing that speech or, as I have grown in that process, creating an outline which is in my mind and following that outline because it gives me a series of steps to success, while at the same time remembering less can always be more. Less can be more if you don't put too many things on your to-do list. As I bring this particular podcast to a close and talking about organization, I'd like to offer to you this suggestion. If organization is something that you don't yet have a good handle on, may I suggest something that I'm finding is helping me tremendously. And I also realize that it actually allows for building tiers that can be very successful. Think in the rule of 3. For your day, think of 3 specific things each day that are, for best case scenario, the most important things to do. There may be many other things that you do as part of the overall process of daily living. But when it comes to expectations, limit it to 3, but make those 3 count and determine that those 3 are going to be accomplished so that at the end of the day, you can look back and you can actually take stock in how you did. In doing that, you can also then think about what will you be doing tomorrow if you see the light of day. Now, within that framework, I have learned that sometimes, just as in a speech, you have 3 points, but you could also have under each of the 3 points, 3 subpoints, and that you can scale on a basis of 3s and still have good organization to communicate your message. The same is true in how you go about successfully negotiating, navigating, and initiating, engaging, implementing, and successfully completing the objectives that you've set. Organization. Organization looks different to different people, but it has its value. The only thing I would caution, don't overthink it and don't let it become obsessive. Too often we obsess, and that causes stress. And stress will cause you to struggle and not succeed. Failure in and of itself is not bad, but failure as a result of personally self-destructive behavior is not good. Think, but don't overthink. Organize for success, not for a long list of things to do. Organization, a powerful tool. I like the fact that in Resolve, O for organization is the middle letter. It's the perfect anchoring letter for the first 3 points in Resolve that we've touched on, which are resilience, engagement, and service. When I join you again next week on this podcast, I will talk to you about the letter L and how the letter L, and it has arrived because of an organizational framework, but that letter L has transformed my life personally, and I believe it can transform yours. And I would not be surprised if there are those of you out there when we talk about the letter L who can testify to the fact that it has done wonders for their lives in so many, many ways. But that's what's forthcoming in our next episode. Today's episode is O for organization, the letter O in Resolve, Resolve. And again, I will remind you, Resolve, your blueprint for intentional success. Intentional success is available in the Amazon bookstore. You can purchase it as a paperback. It's also available as a Kindle download. I hope that you will also check me out on johnmorrowcoaching.com. That's johnmorrowcoaching.com. Pop me an email if you would at john@johnmorrowcoaching.com. That's john@johnmorrowcoaching.com. This is Resolve to Live Forward, the podcast. I'm glad that you joined me for today as we begin this journey together, and we are now through to the letter O. We've still got 3 more episodes to talk about the power word resolve, having a definite plan of action. So I invite you to have as a definite plan of action on your schedule to join me again for our next episode. Until then, this is John Morrow saying thank you for being with me today. You honor me by listening and watching. It's a pleasure to serve you, and I look forward to continuing to serve you. Until then, be blessed, Godspeed, and have a great day.